Hi there, and welcome to the Goodbye Good Girl Project's podcast. This is an intense time we are living through, and I wanted to talk to you about what is going on with the concept of empowerment for women, especially, but really for the entire world. It is, um, it is my understanding from a personal point of view that empowerment is something that we generally lack. We've been brainwashed, not just people who we know now, not just in the last 100 years, not just in the last 1,000 years, but a very, very long time. And we've been brainwashed to believe that there is some power, there's always a power outside of us that has a moral center, a decision making ability, a wisdom that we ourselves do not possess. The great awakening that I think that we're being called to at this time in history is of a deeper kind of empowerment than I ever used to mean when I was a feminist back in my 20s. Empowerment used to call to mind for me women figuring out how to stand up for ourselves and speak up. And we still, as a general group, struggle with this. We still struggle with seeing ourselves as capable, as particularly as young women. We see ourselves as sort of the Oliver of the old film. Please, sir, may I have some more? There's a sense that we're not allowed to ask and expect that we will get what we need to be who we need and who the world needs. There needs to be balance. There's never been balance in our reality. There just has never been the balance of the feminine and the masculine, particularly the divine masculine and the divine feminine. We haven't had that on the planet. We've had enlightened beings who suddenly awaken to their true nature, their true high nature, which is the perfect balance of the divine masculine and feminine. But we haven't had a worldwide awakening, and I believe that is what we are called to now. Empowerment is now, to me, awakening to our power, to our sovereignty in every way, our sovereignty to be able to live our lives the way we choose and find our way to the power, the vibrational, the emotional, the very spiritual power, if you like, that we have to craft our lives in such a way that bad things may happen, but we have an incredible way of being in relationship with them. And it literally vibrationally impacts the way that we are impacted and whether we are impacted. I've heard stories throughout the years. One I can offer you is from the great saint Amachi, the hugging saint. They were building her sort of flagship ashram here in the US, which is in San Ramon, California. There was a man who was helping build the thing. Well, it was already a barn, a very, very big barn. I believe it was already there. In any case, it has an insanely tall ceiling. And this man had gone up an insanely tall ladder, and he was up there doing whatever he was doing, and he fell off the ladder and fell on his back. And it should have, at the very least, crippled him. It didn't. He said, as he fell, he felt like hands were under his back, gentling his fall. Now, people who saw him fall, they didn't see that it was a particularly gentle fall. there's a lot to unpack there, but that's one story that definitely impressed me because the man fell on the ground, everybody's screaming, and he sat up. There are lots of stories, there are lots of ways of looking at how we can actually use our energetic settings of our nervous system, of our attitudes, things that I've proven to myself. It doesn't mean that you're unimpacted. I think you have to be completely enlightened for that, maybe. I don't know. But I know for me, my responses to things are far more measured than they used to be. And it's from working with the energetic power of emotion, of shifting emotion, and understanding certain things that are very much outside of obeying this idea of I'm fundamentally disempowered. I don't have a way of getting what I need without somebody else telling me how or teaching me how. And and this means that we are really enslaved to things like our emotions and our thoughts. And it puts us in that attitudinal mindset of, I can't change anything. I can try really hard, but if my experience over the past however many years is I can't change it, it doesn't change, then you come up with that emotional setting of I can't change anything. And that's really, really untrue statement. It's actually untrue that you can't change yourself. You can do better than change yourself. You can transform yourself. What's the difference? Well, change is something that can change back. I can gain weight, I can lose weight, I can gain it back, right? Transformation is something where you are fundamentally shifted at your core. This is something I always, always looked for. And I found it in one of my darkest nights, literally like early morning nights, and transformed my emotional body after 40 years. So it can be done. And it's not actually rocket science, although it does have a lot to do with physics. And it has to do with our empowerment when we bring in the spiritual, keep doing the quotes thing in my head. I'm hugely into spirituality, hugely. Um, it's just that spirituality and physics have become so clearly intertwined. I mean, as far as our understanding of what's going on with it all, that I'm trying to translate it, I guess, in case I'm not being understood. I guess I have a little fear of people going, oh, she's just so woo-woo, she doesn't have her feet on the ground. Oh, yeah, I do. So empowerment comes when we are whole. Empowerment comes when we can use our mind in service to our spirit. What is our spirit? What am I talking about? Am I talking about religion? No, I'm not. I'm talking of, we can even take it out of the spiritual realm if you like. I'm talking about vibration. I'm talking about when you have a high, high feeling, high spiritual experience, or a high feeling of falling in love with somebody. It's a vibrational sense. Your body feels lighter. Pay attention. Pay attention to how your body and your mind translate these high states of being. The idea that we are waiting for a rescuer, basically, comes from the experience of not being able to just turn on that light switch. not being able to go, let me feel that feeling even when I'm not in love or I'm not having a high spiritual experience. So it's understandable that we don't understand this. I'm proof that the things that are spoken about by Abraham Hicks specifically are absolutely doable by us humans, 100%. We are able to shift the very core of our emotional set points. We don't tend to think of empowerment as emotional or non emotional. We don't tend to think of emotion as vibrational. But when you think about it, emotion is a vibrational set point. For instance, when I was depressed for decades, that was pretty much my emotional set point. No, it was completely my emotional set point. I could rise a little bit, but I could, and I might have like a high peak moment, but it would be over super fast. And I couldn't call it back. I did not know how. So, knowing how to empower ourselves with our ability to shift those emotional set points, those emotional certainties, those emotional beliefs, so that they are transformed and we're now resting our feet on a different place from which to vibrationally call in experiences, vibrationally open the door to experiences we've always wanted to have, vibrationally push away those people who do not resonate with us. This is what happens. It's already happening, by the way. Your emotional set points are already doing all of those things. That's what our vibration does. That's why you can walk into a place and go, I'm not comfortable with that person, or, ooh, I want to talk to them. Empowerment is the ability to discover that you do have that ability to transform any state of being, any state of being. That is the awakening. I have that capability. When I say that, I don't mean that tomorrow you're going to flip a switch and now I'm going to have this and now I'm going to ask for this. I'm going to flip that switch. Now I'm going to ask for this and I'll flip that switch. We can get there. But more importantly, in bringing the feminine into our world, this is how we begin, I believe, this journey. I believe that the feminine, which is vibration, spirit, the quieter, but more powerful, right? The empathetic, the community building, the emotionally aware, the emotionally sensitive. This is the feminine. It's been so shamed out of us that women have learned to speak masculine and behave in according to their rules, the toxic masculine rules. A friend of mine, a younger woman than I, by probably 25, 30 years, she called me today and said she'd had a major epiphany, that she was taking crap from people. She was not asking for money for her teaching, and she was not standing up for herself in certain situations, certain business situations. And she was being shined on by people who were like, oh, without actually saying, oh, be a good little girl. Okay, I can't really give you what I would give a professional man, but I'll just give you this little piece of chocolate kind of a situation. And she went, I'm not doing that anymore. She's like, no, I just realized it. Oh my God, I'm not doing that anymore. Now, anger is one of those emotions that we women have been told to stay away from because it makes us unattractive and unlikable. And we don't want to get pushed out of the tribe. We don't want to get voted off the human island. Well, I recommend to you that you can use your anger to drive your decision to take different approaches to your life, just as my friend did who called me. She was spitting. She was spitting. And she was bitching about this person who did that, this other person who did that, and I put up with this situation. They did this and they did right. But she got the point. She used that anger and she awakened to what she needs to do to stand in her sacred, feminine, adult oneness with all that is and ask for what she is worth. And if somebody says no, it is simple to walk away. So that's the earthly kind of empowerment that we're looking for. We tend to call it self-confidence. We tend to call it that. And it's a mysterious phrase, self-confidence. What does that mean? It is so important that we define our terms that we speak about because we tend to gloss over all of it, over all of the meaning, the emotional meaning, the dictionary meanings, even all of what it really leads us to, which is the truth. We tend to subscribe to the reality around us and say, I do not have power. And then for women, it's like 10 steps lower than the men because this system was created by and for them. It was not created for us to contribute or be a part of at all. We have fought like hell, but it's not fighting in that way that is the most powerful approach we have. I refer you to the Grand Canyon, which was not created with bulldozers and lightning strikes from the heavens. It was created from water, the relentless isness and quality and flow of water. That power is representative of what feminine power truly is. Now, I'm not talking about being relentless as being something that women are. I'm talking about the relentlessness of energy, the relentlessness, that's hard to say, of your emotional set point and marrying your human decisions based on the transformations that you make. Very small transformation. It's just like really insanely powerful pot, right? You take one toke and you're done. It's like that. Our emotional set points, if we just shift them by this much, you took one toke and you are changed. You're transformed. You try to take 100, you just miss the experience. You're just gonna pass out. You miss the entire thing. You're done. You're out of the game. So, I mean, I gave up smoking weed a long time ago because I got to the point in my life where I didn't want to be out of control and I didn't need it for medical reasons. So, but you get the point, right? If you take a very small step that's very real, very empowered, very truthful, authentic, I have a process that I call the 1% solution. And it's incredibly powerful. You have to be willing to bring in the feminine, though. You have to be willing to feel your emotions. It's not easy for many people. I know when I first started becoming more intimately aware of the different types of emotions, other than my knee-jerk things that were just keeping me going, keeping me alive. This is when I was about 30, I guess, I remember the therapist I had at the time said to me, "You're angry with me." And I said, "No, no, 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 no." Because in my set point, being angry was my self-defense, was my place where I could be standing there with my armor on, so maybe nobody could hurt me. That's actually the opposite way that energy works. The energy you give out is the energy you attract. So I was actually, I don't know, kind of dooming myself, actually. And I had to learn all of the different colors of my emotions. Not learn like study in a book, but start to become a, for at first it wasn't curiosity, it is now, but at first it was I have to survive because I was having my first of three nervous breakdowns throughout my life. Lots of fun. So it was, get aware or, you know, risk dying. And I chose to get aware. I think it was a good choice. It's not an easy choice, but it's a great choice. So empowerment when it comes to self-confidence and having faith in our ability to respond to things in ways that keep us stable, that we can find our way through. We call that self-confidence. And that means that we have faith in our abilities. Well, we have to build that. This is not about blind faith. That was never a thing. For anybody who is really empowered, there's no such thing as blind faith. The only thing that you're going to have faith in, that you're going to trust, is kind of a feedback system that you practice and that you test. You become your own laboratory. So you say, wow, I've never dared to talk to that person who scares me before. And I think that person scares me because they remind me of my punishing father or something, whatever it is. And you go, I'm aware of the feeling and I want to feel a little bit brave. I don't want to feel like I'm Arnold Schwarzenegger. Just, I want to feel a little more courageous. How can I do that? Well, I can prepare what I'm going to say. I can become aware of if what I say makes me feel strengthened or makes me feel like I have to retreat. And if it makes me feel like I have to retreat, I have to choose a different thing to say that actually does strengthen me so that no matter what happens, I know my purpose in this thing, in going to talk to this person, was to test my ability to be stronger, not to win an argument, not to be superwoman, but just to test how it is to be a little more courageous. So I'm going to do it, and then I'm going to see what the result is, and I'm going to come out of it, and I'm going to either be like that was badass, or I'm going to be like, oh, that really sucked. I hated it. And then you get more inquiry. You have to go into more inquiry. I mean, this is definitely along the lines that therapists will go with you, and we can do this on our own. I'm not saying don't do therapy. I love good therapists. I think they're invaluable. What I'm saying is no therapist, no good therapist wants you to be dependent on them for the rest of your days. We have to build our own sense of empowerment. And this goes way beyond, can I give a talk in public? People say that people are more afraid of that than they are of death. I think what people are more afraid of, even than that, is being visible in their day-to-day life. I think the more wounded, the more introverted, the more self-punishing, any combination of those that we are, the more we are terrified of being authentic. And the ability to be authentic really is based on our self-confidence. and our self-confidence is based on building those experiences of going into those places that we're not used to going, knowing why we're doing it, choosing, powerful word, choosing why we're doing it, for what purpose. And it's always a purpose for ourselves if it's this kind of work, this kind of personal growth work. Making sure that we are doing it for reasons that we can measure in our own way, and making sure that one of those ways is emotional. This is where, especially at the start of this work, is where it's really important for a good therapist or a really badass friend who is supportive of your growth, not one who wants you to stay down in the dirt with them, right? So empowerment on the human level is all about this stuff. Now, empowerment also goes beyond the human. This is where it gets a little trippy for some people. Empowerment means you can question anything, anything. And it requires thinking for yourself, which sounds simple. It's not simple or easy. It's not simple because we've been trained to have a general human emotional set point of, I don't have the power. And in order to get the power, I need God to smile on me, or I need the teacher to tell me what to do, or I need my spouse to tell me if I'm allowed, or whatever. We've got a million of them. And some of them hide in plain sight. Plain sight. One of them that is so interesting to me is vocal. So one of the things that I noticed out in California, especially, was that younger women would say a sentence that is a statement of truth. I'm going to the store. Statement of truth. Bye, honey. I'm going to the store. Now, here, that's da 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 da. That's the sound, the tone. Uh-huh. Bye, honey. I'm going to the store. Da 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 da. But they would say it. I'm going to the store. Da 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 da. And that upward move, that's disempowerment. It's like, it's a question. Am I going to the store? And what it is it's the emotional underpinning of that is that you're asking, am I allowed? Or am I right? Am I allowed to even have my own statement of truth? It definitely goes deep. Now, going deep doesn't mean that you're going to have to, buy 12 shovels before you pull it up. It's not like that. The shifting process with the 1% solution is a whole different thing. A whole different thing. And it's really, really quick. I mean, I did a healing of almost 40 years of misery in 5 days. 40 years, 5 days. That's how powerful slightly higher vibration is. 40 years, 5 days. That's empowerment. And the only way for us to get this in our bodies is to experience it. Experience it. But the other thing that's important about thinking for ourselves, look at the things that are around you, even spirituality, and I'm going to say especially spirituality and religion. Because what I am learning these days about what religion is truly based on is fascinating and freeing if you're not somebody for whom religion is a major support. If you're somebody for whom religion has been a wounding, or if it hasn't, religion and spirituality haven't helped you in the way that you hoped they would, that it's an amazing thing to learn that while there is spirit, there is the divine. I've experienced it, so I can say this with complete 100% confidence. It's not the it's not the na 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 neener neener, I know more than you do, and being that we're taught. It's not that collection of rules that do this with each other, right? It's the church is not about what Jesus taught. And even Jesus was not named Jesus, it turns out. The word Jesus means hail Zeus. What? It means what now? It means hail Zeus. It goes back to the gods of earlier times. Um, the real name of the man we call Jesus is Yeshua. I hope I said that right. I just learned some of this, like the name thing today. There was no Jesus. That was something that was laid upon him by the church that wanted to control the masses and decided to create this religion with rules that would reward or punish and keep the people in line. And we're so indoctrinated to this that the very thought of questioning what we see and what we hear is is really terrifying to a lot of people. I understand it. Me, I have been fighting for so long. Well, I'm not fighting anymore because I finally had that breakthrough experience of guess what? I do have the power. Now I may have to learn all the other ways in which I can use it. And I may have to deepen my experience and widen my experience, but that's fun. And that's fascinating. And it's frustrating. Somebody will piss me off. Now I've got some more work to do, but it's not work for no reason. And it's not work to put myself down and disempower myself in yet another way. No, now my personal growth journey is about empowerment. My spiritual mother, Amachi, the great hugging saint, famously said, at least it's famous to me, real faith is the faith in one's own self. Now, I have a greeting card that I've had for 35 years, or well, not that long, 30 years maybe, from her ashram out in California or from wherever I got it. And I didn't understand it when I first heard that. I said, what is that supposed to mean? How am I supposed to have faith in me? I am messed up. What do you mean have faith in myself? Have faith in this idiot who doesn't even know what the hell is going on? Because at 30 years old, I did not know what the hell was going on. But thank goodness I met her because what she did, and I only know this so many years later, what she did for me in coming into my life is that I had the full body, full emotion, high to low, low to high experience of feeling my oneness with that energy that is all. And I couldn't keep it. And I needed it. I was depressed, clinically, and anxious. I needed it. So I went on a journey looking for the core transformational answer. And first, it was the core spiritual answer. I remember asking her one time, how do I keep you with me? And she answered through her interpreter. She said, just imagine that I am walking with you, sitting with you. I'm with you all the time. And indeed, the first, I don't know how many years, pretty much no matter what question I would ask her, she would answer, don't worry, mother is with you. I'd be frustrated. How the heck does, I'm going to go home. You're not with me. Yeah, I know. So How do we keep that vibration, that high vibration? We have to practice it in our emotional bodies. We have to lean into that experience. We have to claim that. That's real empowerment. And that is the great awakening of these times. And that is why my business is called, it turns out, the Goodbye Good Girl Project. Because if you want to live as your authentic self, if you want to live an authentic life where you choose your responses, not your reactions. You may have a reaction, but that's the automatic. But you choose how to converse with, work with, shift, shift that reaction into a different feeling, then the response is transformed. You are transformed. Nobody taught us this in school. Certainly nobody taught it in any kind of church or temple I've ever heard of. But it's out there all over the place now. We've got people channeling and we've got people teaching. We do not have enough women teaching. So here I am. The feminine is the way. The divine masculine is the way. But the toxic masculine, the power over bullshit, we've got to see it. We women and sensitive men have got to see this for what it is. We've got to question these external realities. We've got to say, does this make sense? Does it make sense? Here's one from like the Old Testament and the New Testament, there's the um, there's the turn the other cheek thing, and then there's the eye for an eye thing, right? Wait, the same God is supposed to have, right? That should bring up questions. If you're on this path of, I want my freedom from any shoulds, and I want to be in the light and of the light of my own light, and walking with other people who are in the light of their own light and are living their joy and growth and fascination without feeling like they have to pay for it with suffering, then you need to get really interested in the idea of being curious about what's happening for you and how you might shift and transform it. I should say shift it and thereby transform it. And become very, very fascinated with what is the path? What is the teacher? Which teacher next? Because it's not like you have to choose one teacher and that's it. Mike Dooley was one of my, well, Mother Amachi was my first. Then here comes Mike Dooley talking about if you just feel these feelings for a few minutes each night, you're going to attract these things. I didn't understand it in its totality, but that didn't matter. Anytime I listened to his first tape set, which was like 12 tapes, I would feel myself lifted until once when I was at one of Amachi's gatherings, I was already so high that when I listened to it, it's like, yeah, I know. But I didn't know. I mean, I was high because I was sitting in that presence and I was resonating with it. So that's really cool. Because there have been times I've sat in that presence and I've not resonated with it. I've resonated with my own suffering. That's our free will. We have choice. We may not know what the choice is or that we even have that power or how to use it, but it is innate within us that once we want it and look for it and find it, we have it. It's not something we have to, go out to the store and purchase or pray to some divine being to bestow upon us. It's innate within us. And in choosing to not let ourselves settle for anything that holds us back from being our empowered, self-actualized identity, which is a lifelong and maybe lives long process. It gives you quality of life like nobody's business. The quality of my life, I do not live in suffering anymore. Do I have moments where I'm suffering something? Yeah. But I can shift that too when I choose. It's all about us. And at first, that sounds like an absolutely unclimbable, insurmountable mountain. Like it cannot be done. But here's what makes it doable. And so much easier that, remember, 40 years, 5 days is the energy that is just this much better than anywhere you are at any given moment. Any given moment. One tiny pinprick of light, a slightly easing thought in the middle of depression. One self-congratulatory thought like, I'll tell you what, I'm proud of myself for not hitting that MFer. And feeling that pinprick of self-support, of congratulation for yourself, that tiny pinprick of light is 10,000 times stronger than all of that darkness. And it lifts you when you are aware, when you are intentional about it, when you slow down and take that time to feel it, register it within your consciousness, feel it, nurse it, go, wow, how does that feel better? Well, I feel like my shoulders just dropped, or I feel, I don't know, I feel like I see light inside of me suddenly. What the hell? What's happening? This is amazing. That's really cool. Empowerment goes all the way from I have the ability to leave my parents' house and start to build a life for myself, all the way up to I'm going to question what others have always told me my connection with spirit is and have always told me spirit is. I'm going to find out for myself. This is what the great beings throughout history did. They went looking for the answers that were their own. And that's the highest empowerment there is. Teachers will try to start us at the top of the mountain. They'll try to stand at the top of the mountain and pull us up and give us the answers at the top. But as we are not able to make that big a jump, they will come down in their explanations and things to try to help us. But ultimately, the work and the play and the discovery and the consciousness and the struggle to not struggle, um, it's with us. It lies with us. It's very tough to deal with. Nobody wants to hear it at first, and even at second, and even at third and fourth. Like, I don't want to hear this. I don't understand how you could say that I created this terrible reality. Well, it's not that you sat down and went, I think I want to be miserable in this life. That's not what happened. That is not what happens before you come into this life. I remember coming into this life. I remember being a little kid. And I knew, it didn't have words for it, but I knew that I was in a place that I could sort of work it like Play-Doh and create what I wanted. But pretty quickly I got weighed down with the shoulds and the no, you don'ts and do this and don't do that. And I got pulled away from it, just like you did. And this time in history, hard as it is our empowerment time. For women, we have got to start looking at the nature of the rules we keep bending to internally, just like my friend did, just like I've done for decades. What is that you're telling me? You're going to let me go because I told you that there was abuse in That I was being abused emotionally by my coworker? You're letting me go? Does that even make sense? No. So why am I crying? Why do I feel like I did something wrong? I don't know. I just feel like I'm supposed to, take the blame. Does that make sense? Well, I'm not the one who was abusing me. Right. So maybe something in that other person. And then I find out that the other person, who was the owner of this company, because this is a real event that happened, he loves to sue people. He's always got like nine lawsuits going at a time. Wackadoo. So he heard the A word, abuse, and fired me before I could do to him what he loves to do to others. Understand that empowerment is taking your power anywhere along that line of I'm afraid to speak up, I'm afraid to have my own opinion, I'm afraid to be visible, I'm afraid to question my spouse, I'm afraid to follow my own path and start a business that I would actually like and in fact love, all the way up to, and I get to question the very nature of the spiritual and religious rules that have been laid on me like a wet wool blanket and see if they make sense to me. If there's a loving God, as I believe, I see it as loving energy myself. But I'm speaking from somebody out there who might say, if I believe in a loving God, then why would I also believe that if I don't do things to honor that being, that then I'm punished? Wait a minute. Those two things, they don't go together. I have to figure this out. So excuse me. Dare to question. Dare to question your own assumptions. Your quality of life is at stake, and your ability to have and be and do anything that you choose to do is at stake. And there are so many more of us out here. Now, if you would like to join me in this journey, I ask you to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's free. And as I start to do more YouTube lives and maybe TikTok lives, I'm hoping to build a community of us. If you're a fan of Next Level Soul, you will understand when I tell you that um, when I tried to define for myself what empowerment is in a way that would express it to other people as bigger than the I can speak up for myself definition that is in my head or was in my head as the soul definition for a long time, I do define it as next level empowerment because it is next level. It's look at everything, find your true divinity, your true power, your true nature. This is the Great Awakening. And I would love to have you be a part of my community. If you are someone who is tired of the struggle, tired of beating yourself up, tired of finding yourself fighting the shoulds in your head, someone, if you are a woman leader with a mission and a vision, and you're my ideal client because I can see where you've closed the doors. And I'm very good at bringing in that pinprick of light with you. So go to my website, goodbyegoodgirl.com. I'm going to revamp it because this particular podcast is the visibility of the full range of empowerment that I'm expressing, and I'm feeling pretty damn good about it. But there's nothing on my website that's not true. Yeah, in other words, you can use what's on there now, but there will be more in the days, weeks, months, and years to come. As they say in India, Om Namah Shivaya, which means I honor the God within you. You are made of that. And you are all that in a bag of chips. Love and Moxie. See you next time.